Welcome everybody. I hope you can see the stream okay, and I hope you can hear the stream okay. Last week we had some difficulties with the stream getting established, and with the ability for you guys to see the stream. So if we run into any problems today, do let me know. Looks like we have quite a few of you just hanging out here, so thanks for coming by. My YouTube live streaming is set up a little bit different than usual, so I can't really tell who all is here today. So hope you guys are having fun, and I hope that everything's going good for you. So I will get into it. I won't sit around and wait for people to show up today. So far it looks like we have Chaz in the house. What's up, buddy? You are looking forward to this. Me too, man. It's been quite a little bit. So Chaz, it looks like you want me to cover VELO. And that's a big one. We've really been hammering on VELO in the Discord. We caught a really good support on it. And it's nice to see that it's kind of working on reversals. The other one you wanted to see, Chaz, was VRA. So I got those both written down for you. Thank you for those requests. What is up, Addy? It's nice to see you in the house. Bitcoin is being a son of a bitch, isn't it? But that's okay. We will try to hammer this thing down and see what we can find. Bitcoin can be tough at times, and that's okay. Shit happens. But overall, as long as we keep our bias on the larger time frames and wait to see whether or not those counts get invalidated or not, that's all we can do. So let's stay focused on larger time frames on Bitcoin, and we will cover Bitcoin really soon, and cover our bias over Bitcoin and where we think it could be going. What else do we have here? What's up, Brian? How are you? Good to see you in the chats, man. Brian has a request for Zcash. Let's write that down. This chart has been an absolute pain in my ass, so I'm not really excited to look at it for you, but I will do it. All right. I hope you're having a good day, B. What is up, Nick Roberts? Thanks for coming to the stream, dude. Let's write that down. That's a FARTBOY for you, friend. Man, it brings a smile to my face seeing all these people in here. Thanks, guys, for coming. This is it's a lot of fun. It really is. What is up, Apex? What is up, Donovan? What's up, Liam? How are you, buddy? All right. Well, I have a couple of altcoins written down so far. We got VELO, VRA, Zcash, and FARTBOY is my only ones so far. If you guys have any other charts, get them put in the chat with as much detail as possible. Things that help me with my request is if it's spot, leverage, do you already own the position in it, right? Are you looking to get positioned? Is this something like that? So just be real honest. It helps me a lot with the chart request. So as to not delay things, oh, dude, there's 10 of you in here today. Thank you all for coming. Stank is back. What's up, Stank? We got you down for Adam, friend. All right, and that's for Stank. Let me write that down. I like to remember who has each chart request. That way we can get this all written down and tracked up to see if you guys are still around when it comes in. Know that if you have something important to get to today, don't worry about it. I will do your chart request and get it time stamped for you. So even if you have to take off, we'll take a peek. All right, Apex is wanting to look at Solana, and your question is new all-time high. Is it possible? So we will cover Solana in this stream for Apex, and we will cover whether or not we think we need to prepare ourselves for a new all-time high or not. Let me know if you guys have any lag or problems with your stream on your end, and I hope that you guys can all see okay. As to not delay us anymore, let's get going. So the very first thing we're going to look at is Bitcoin. I'm here on the very low time frame because I was messing about this morning. So the thing that I'm going to do is we're going to delete everything and just kind of talk so we can understand where we're at on the road and where we're going. So from a top-down approach, these are the three things that we discussed in the Discord yesterday and have been kind of going over pretty hard over the last weeks. I think we've even covered it in quite a few live streams. but the possibility of the 1 to the downside, going for 5. Now we have easy invalidation for this scenario, and we'll talk about that. It comes from the wave 2 high to the wave 3 low as a wave 4 retracement, and it invalidates itself when it comes up and hits that 618 retracement. Not as a hard rule, but as a probability shift point, because wave 4s don't typically do that. Wave 4s typically like to stop at the 0.5 retracement and then move on from there, okay? So, meaning rejection. So, for me, in the current count that I'm looking at, there's a couple different ways we can do this. So, currently, my primary count is to want to count this as an ABC. I understand that the C wave of this came to a shallow target according to extensions, but sometimes that's going to happen, right? This is cryptocurrency. Things move in ways we don't expect. So if we go from 0 to A to B, we can see that we hold up here at the 786 extension at 93,972. Because of this, I want to go with the possibility of the ABC, right? Also, the fact that, do we really want to consider the wave 4 retracing higher than this? I think no, right? The other thing that we're trying to really take in here is that when we look at wave 2 and wave 4 on the RSI, you can see this was its highest RSI. We can see two things, right? So the first one is what? You have a hidden bear divergence here, meaning that you make a higher high on the RSI than you did on price action at any point in this trend, right? The next thing that we notice is that you have a regular bear divergence. So you have higher highs on price action and lower highs on RSI. When we get this distinction here, this is a hidden bear with regular bear. These divergences, along with the Elliott Wave counts, can often be what leads to a swift downside, right? So if we're looking for a wave 5 in this scenario, let's clean this up a little bit. Where would a wave 5 target be? That would be an extension from 0 to 3 to the top of the 4. Let's clean this up a little bit so we can see what we're doing. And remember, guys, fibs are not exacts. They are an area of interest. Okay, so this would be red 4 in time. We're just not there yet. The target for this yellow wave 5 is going to be 74,956 area. Then another retracement or a possible strong bounce. We'll have to wait and see how the counts go here. And this could in time end up with a breakdown to around 65,000. Now, there's a couple different ways to consider this count. It depends on who you are and what you want to do. I like it as a primary, as the first wave down in the bear market, right? So everybody's counting this however they please, which is fine. But what I think is the most critical thing to note is that we are starting to make a 5-wave structure down from the highs. So whether you want to be a bull and say, you know, I was looking at all this as a possible setup in a flat style structure, meaning in an ABC, right? Great. If that's how you want to look at this, that's fine. But the most common target is to take the lows of A. So if this is the most common target, why are we getting excited about lows already? You know what I mean? So let's look and see, do we continue this push down? And can we document the 5 waves within yellow 5 and then look for that reversal point here near the old lows? Maybe we'll just hold them, not lose this market structure. People will get bullish again, make another local retrace, and then the breakdown that comes on down and really finishes the C in the 5th wave of the C. Does that make sense? So in my opinion, I would much rather say that this is a true 5-wave motion down, with the possible cycle top being in here, right? Because regardless of how you feel about it, what matters most is 5 waves to the downside, right? So as long as we keep documenting this, we have a current really bearish 8-hour candle here as our potential setup. I would even like to argue the bears could move their invalidation point if they wanted to a little bit lower down to mitigate risk if they were short, right? You really wouldn't want to see 92.469 lost, or then you would be apt to take these highs. The reason why is because when we go to a 4-hour, there's a couple different ways you can argue this. You could say, you know, this is wave 1 into wave 2, and we're looking for that displacing 3, 4, and 5. I'm very open to that. Right now, currently, if we put extensions on this motion down as a wave 1 into a wave 2, that takes the wave 3 to 82,324, and the successive wave 5 into this area. Now, I would imagine even an extended wave 3 would occur, because you would see a lot of stop losses and liquidations occurring at this wick and at this low. So I would imagine we could get an extended third that pushes down to 2.236 or even 2.618. Finding Bitcoin's next supports, you know, if the 82, mid 82 area fails, we're looking down to that next area, which is the 78,800 to the 76,700 level, with our ultimate goals for this minimum wave down in 5 to 74,956. So if Bitcoin is going to continue down the stairs, keep your invalidation close, right? Just in case there's some sort of stop hunt. Now, when you consider the local motion from high to low, and we talk about resistances, you can see that we're coming up here to the 702. Now, a lot of times in retracements, you'll see a 3-wave motion. The first wave comes, oops, let me turn off the magnet before it screws us. The first wave comes up to a 618, falls down, and the next wave comes up to a 702. Typically, this is when you're going to get a divergence. Now, that's why I want to keep my invalidation here. Number 1 is 3-wave motion with divergence. We haven't verified yet. I will look at the RSI. And the potential that if we go up high, we're going to break a 786, making it highly likely to turn these highs, right? Which at that point, we will cross into that kind of bullish situation, and we'll cover that here in just a moment. But for right now, let's stay focused on the bear. So on our RSI, you can see lower highs on RSI, higher highs on price action. When we get a divergence at an area of interest, let's check the extensions on this to see if we got another really weird 3-wave motion that might stop around 618 to 786. Where are you? 786. Bang on the money again at the 786. So this is something that we often see in corrections, right? So you'll have a 3-wave motion, rejection at the 786. 3-wave motion, rejection at the 786. This could be happening because this is a strong trend to the downside so far. So the corrections are losing that strength to the upside to be able to fight back. So we are seeing kind of like what some people might call a truncation, or that loss of strength in the uptrend, okay? Let me get a sip of this here. Latte getting caught in mouth. And let me ask, are you guys biased to new all-time highs for Bitcoin, or are you guys biased to this deeper correction to go test out the market structure, 74K, and possibly even ultimately 65K? What's you guys' opinions? Are you team all-time high, new all-time high, or deeper correction? Let me know in the chats. I'd love to see kind of what you guys' bias is here too. It's really nice to get a vibe off of an audience, you know. So, all right, that so far would be what we are looking at for the bearish market structure. Now, I will say that everybody and their cousin is a bear right now. Yes, everybody wants to short. Everybody's terrified. Everybody's worried. Yes. So, with that being said, how could we make this kind of bullish? Was something we talked about in our Discord live stream yesterday. Now, this is hideous. It does take some bullshit 101 here. But we talked about how in Forex, you would often see a leg and a connector in a leg, right? So it was something that we wanted to discuss as the leg down. Yes? So this will be your bullish scenario. So I really want to cover this really quickly. All right, so if we get a motion down like that, and we have to push ourselves into a corner here and say, you know, what could it be? Maybe it was an ABC down. As you can see, the broader motions here are kind of three-wave motions. 3 and 3 again. Because of that, and the wonky extensions it comes to, I think it was a 618 when we looked yesterday. The 618, 786 area. Maybe we can classify that as a WXY within a B wave. I think it's a long shot, but it is a maybe. So just in case we reverse, I was thinking like, dude, what could we do to make a weird ass bottom? Maybe it's that. Maybe it's a leg, a connector, and a partner leg. That's over. If it is, then what does this have to be off the lows, right? So if you want to be team all-time high, you're wanting this to be a really, really strong reversal, right? You're wanting to form some sort of 1-2 stacking here, right? Because there's only a couple ways it can reverse off a low. Now, the greater thing that we need to be concerned about here is what if that's an A, B, C, and W. And then what if you make a strong ABC to the upside in X, and then eventually you get a Y, right? This would be something that you could be very open to. Depending on how high this X wave retraces, it would tell you a lot about the preceding Y leg, right? So if your X wave makes a fast three-wave motion up and never hits that 702 retracement around 110.400, and it stays shallow, let's say, even the 0.5, right? We haven't hit a minimum yet. Usually we like to see at least a 0.382. But let's say eventually we get up to the 0.5, 0.618. If that happens and the 702 is never touched, this Y leg could be another sharp zigzag like this. Meaning, I have never used this silly little bar. We won't today. Meaning that the next leg down could be another sharp three-wave series that would come to 1 to 1.236, taking Bitcoin to 67 to 60,800. Now, that's the bullish scenario. Because at least this would correct more and linger on this range. Now, let's say this ABC is actually more of an immediate bottom and Bitcoin's going to go up from here. How would it happen, right? So what you would have to have happen would be, since this second sequence to the upside is smaller than the first sequence, then you would be talking about, like we showed in the other scenario from the top down, would be actually off the lows, right? So you'd be looking for some sort of 1 into 2, 1 into 2, 1 into 2, and the successive motions to get impulsive. Now, this becomes easy to invalidate for the bulls because this stacking would have to be done here. You wouldn't want you want each successive wave 2 to be smaller than the prior, right? So if we start correcting out here more, we're going to lose that look, right? If not already in time. So if we measure the first 2 in time and the second 2 in time, you can see this low is in after the 1-to-1, meaning that the second correction is already bigger, making it a lower probability count. So let's be watching the bear scenarios. Bullish scenarios lose hope at 87,700, and the bears will regain control, or excuse me, the bulls will regain control if they can get a break over the probability shift point at 92,800, right? So this gives you a little bit of a window where you're like, okay, I have invalidation for my bears and my bulls all sitting right here in front of me, right? So this way you can make a better choice. Yes? So that's about all that I have for Bitcoin. We covered the bear route. We covered the bullish route. If you guys have any questions at all, please put them in the chat, and I would love to cover them for you. For now, we will move onward into Ethereum. First, let me check the chat and see what else we've got here that came in for charts to discuss. Sten the Man asked if we can look at MONAD. Let me write that down. MONAD. Now, is this the same MON that just recently got listed on Coinbase? They did like a pre-sale. You could buy it with USDC and whatnot. All right. What is up, Nameless? How are you, man? Hope you're having a good day. Dude, everybody's here. Out of here, straight up, right on that one. All right. The masses are bearish, so that's why I think it might go up. Me too, man. The herd Sten doesn't typically get what they want, right? So if the herd all wants Bitcoin to go down, it will typically go up. And one of the bigger takeaways that we need to understand is that today had no FOREX news. And we also have massive FOREX news coming this week, right, everybody? So that should be a big takeaway that I really want you guys to understand once I find my keyboard again, is that this FOREX, the data that's coming in and the things that are coming towards us this week are massive, yes? So if the majority thinks that the federal fund is going to cut the rates again, right? If the Feds come in and cut those rates by 25 points, they drop us down, that could send the markets to the upside. But I do want you to consider that every single time people have said that lately, we have gotten the opposite, right? So if everybody right now is saying, we're going to get the cut, Powell's going to do the cut, markets are going to pump, there's a chance you could get the rate cut again and not get the pump, because these rate cuts aren't helping the economy in the way that they are projecting, right? So it's not having a positive outlook for many things. So keep watching. We tomorrow again have more FOREX news coming in with the JOLTS jobs opening. And then again, Wednesday morning, you're running face up with the Fed coming in and doing the rate cuts and having a meeting. So trade safe or not at all, because this week will be super, super volatile, right? And then Thursday's followed up with unemployment. So this is really a big deal. And the majority of people, again, are saying it's going to be a 25-point cut. So, All right. So, Vina, how are you? I hope you're doing good. You want Chainlink. You got it. Let me write that down. On this Chainlink, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a weekly picture? Are you a spot holder? Are you looking to accumulate more Chainlink? Are you in a leverage position, long or short? Sharing more about your chart requests other than the ticker often helps me out a lot. Yeah, buddy, you're right, Apex. It's what they say after the cut in that meeting is really big. It gives us a lot of indication about how they think. But a lot of time, thank you, buddy, for letting me know that spot. I'll write that down. A lot of time in the meeting, they're going to go ahead and discuss things like, hey, you know, we have a fiscal responsibility. We have a responsibility to the job market. If X, Y, and Z happens, we'll do X, Y, and Z, and we'll stay vigilant. Yap, yap, yap. They'll basically say the same shit they do every time. All right. Let's go talk about Ethereum really quickly. I got it written down for you. Chainlink spot, bud. All right. So on Ethereum, I really don't like being in the lower time frames on it. I think that the move up is very hard to call anything but a three-wave motion, right? We've covered this in numerous streams. The thing that keeps me focused towards downside is the weekly for right now. Excuse me, I'm still coming out of a little bit of a sickness here. So from the highs, we have 3 down, eventually, and 3 up. And then we start to make all this chop, yes? In this chop, we see 3 down and 3 up and a potential 5 down, right? And then we make 3 up. I'm very curious. Could we see Ethereum make an A, a B, and a C wave flat within a Y that comes down to the 1 through 1.236? This would be, I think, a little drug out in time because it is taking quite a while. But it's something that I would want to be open to. Okay? We did not invalidate the expansion here. And we come right into that area of interest where we see the expansion rejection happen. We could use local extensions on this to look at just the ABC that may occur, right? This is just a possibility. It's not a for sure. We fell just short of the 618 so far. I'm going to add the 382 to see if we've had any interactions yet. So far, we're under it and finding it as resistance. So let's see what happens. I could very easily get behind a 5-wave motion that takes this down. You know, maybe it tries to defend the 1,000 mark, but ultimately loses it and goes down to 744. If we look to the left here on a weekly, it looks like we have a decent little internal fair value gap here left behind. We'll have to adjust this. I fudged that. There we go. And that comes in right around that 800, 740 range. So ultimately, that would have to be kind of my primary count for Ethereum. I don't find myself being bullish on it just yet. I don't think that I want to be just yet. I want to be patient for this and see what happens. For now, I'm going to keep this channel on that goes from 0 to X to W. I want to see, do we find support at the center line of the channel as this comes down? Do we start to see more identifiable structures in the bear count? But overall, the thing that keeps me bearish on Ethereum is that when we look at it here, we can see very clearly that this motion to the upside never got impulsive. Right now, it doesn't at the same time. It doesn't break any rules in Elliott Wave, so you could try to lie to yourself and say this is wave 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and then that it's over, right? Because the rules in Elliott Wave allow for a wave 1 to be this size and a wave 3 to be a little bit smaller, and then the wave 5 to be a little bit smaller than that. The rule is that wave 4 and wave 1 cannot overlap. Wave 3 cannot be the shortest. So if we don't break any of those rules, now if you want to be a bull, this is how you would have to do it. You'd have to say wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. Now you'll see very clearly that wave 5 is shorter than wave 3, and I'll show you that using extensions. And you can see that wave 4 never overlaps into the top of wave 1. We did not receive a hidden bull divergence between our wave 4 and our wave 2 with the drop down. But wave 4 did backtest that 50 level of the RSI bull control zone, right? So that's super common to see happen in these pullbacks, especially in a 3-wave motion. Now, because it doesn't break any rules, you could start to lie to yourself from this point and say, okay, it was just a really weak reversal because of trend shift, right? So if I wanted to be a bull, I would have to do such from the daily, and I would only try to worry myself with this price action going forwards. That comes down to the 0.5 with a near bucking to the penny bounce, yes? So because of this, I have to possibly consider this a correction, right? So let's look at this. From the top down, we can see what? A 3-wave motion, a choppy motion up, and a potential maybe even 5. So if this is 335 or some sort of corrective motion, it allows us to say, hey, maybe that's the first leg in correction down, right? In an ABC. Maybe this is a connector, this choppy little piece of shit right here. Now, if it is, great. We came down in a motion in another 3 waves that didn't lose 1.382. Because of that, I could try to start to get bullish. Now, you wouldn't want to see these lows lost because then you would lose hope for the bullish scenario that I'm about to show you. Let's check and see. Now, was this correction in after the 382 fib time? It was. So that creates the potential for this to be a valid reversal spot for Ethereum in the bullish scenario, right? And it was done between 0.618 and the 1 line, making it higher probability, if this truly is a pivot, to be a wave 2 more than anything, right? So if we're wanting to flip bullish, let's do it. Now let's go down to the 8-hour and 4-hour and look at these internal counts and see how could I potentially flip bullish here, right? So this is going to be hell, but let's try to do it. All right, so you would be saying that this is a wave 1 into 2. You would need a wave 3, 4, and 5 within this. I will say that this is hideous. So I will be surprised if we can figure this mess of noodles out, but we will try. So we break 1.382. There's a choppy pullback here, whether it's running, which I doubt. Maybe it's just likely to here. 34. I'd hate to say that's how you end a 5th wave, but it's possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Could be an ending diagonal. I doubt it. They're rare. But at least the 4 would be smaller than the 2 and you'd finish in a 5. If you're wanting to be bullish, this is going to be bullshit 101. But you would have to make some sort of call here, right? 3, 4 that doesn't overlap into the highs of 1. We don't want to do that. I think 4 doesn't overlap into this. Think for now that's how I would start this, and then you have 3 down and then a possible 5 wave up. Now the reason you're able to kind of bullshit this a little bit is because the second series is a little bit more prompt. By that I mean you can see what displacement, right? So if this is 3, 4, and 5, whether we had 3, 4 stacking or not here, we're not going to waste our time and argue about it. Doesn't matter. And then we get another, 3-wave corrective pullback, right? So again, you're thinking, shit, man, now I can bump up invalidation again for this kind of bullish scenario on how you could be long biased on Ethereum. Does that make sense? And then again, you're like, how could I've got to try to stay bullish, right? So you have to have another 5 waves up and 3 waves back. This is quite a hard cry here of a lie because of this connector being so long, meaning that the connector in 4 would be longer than the connector in 2, no matter where you placed it. So it would make this really hard. You would have to either say that, or this is 3, 4, and 5, and 3 down and 3 up, and the rest of the correction. But this correction would start to get larger than this one, which starts to kind of skew the probabilities. So I think that if you're wanting to be a bull, you have to count this as 1-2 stacking. And you wouldn't want to lose these lows, right? You would want to see a strong reversal out of here. And that's how you could try to find some sort of bullish hope here for Ethereum. That's a really good daily candle that it tried to make yesterday. It's been fighting really hard here, but until Ethereum can close over that 3,200 on a daily, I would stay fixated on our bearish path, right? Same thing for Bitcoin, right? Until Bitcoin can get some daily closures over 94,358, stay focused on our bearish path, right? All right, so that's Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are our two big ones that we really try to cover every stream. Do you guys have any questions over either of those? If so, let me know, and we'll go back and talk about them. All right, got everything else. Everything in the chats looks updated, so we're going to move on to our next chart, which is VELO. VELO is something we've been tracking for quite some time now. We started tracking VELO about a year ago in a leading diagonal, and then we started tracking it for the fall that we got into, and this is off of our macro. I just want to show this to you again. 2, 3, 4, and 5. After which you have an ABC that comes back, and we hit our 1-to-1 extension, which was the first entry for our target box. We come down to it, right? The 1 through 1.382. From this drop that we predicted from the 3-wave motion up, this was about an 80% drop that people could have avoided. We also were kind of talking about the drop right here in the Discord, so we knew this was kind of coming for a while now. Which is great. It helps us avoid getting punished in the markets. But anywho, so when we zoom in, we start to see how are we working on a reversal here. This was posted by Andy in the Discord. He works really hard on his charts and has been studying like mad. And he posted for us, dude, what if that's a 5-wave motion to the upside? So mathematically, we broke that down. So far, we can find no reasons why it is not a sustainable 5-wave motion towards the upside. It meets all the math. Everything looks good about it. We looked at its internal counts, and then we received a potential ABC to the downside. Now, in the Discord, again, we were saying, guys, get ready. This was the B wave up in 3. We were looking for the 1 through 1.382, which we get beautifully. Because of that, people in the community were able to make some amazing entries with leverage and spot. So people are still riding those up at this point. The bias is to continue to ride those positions. Let me just take my time. Good, that's good for 2. So if we're wanting to see this motion toward the upside, Velodrome traders need to understand, excuse me, I clicked the wrong button. Velodrome traders need to understand that we are looking for the potential motion to the upside with hard invalidation at these lows of the current C. So let me get that as close as we can. And the trader, excuse me, I'm choking here. That's what happens when you try to sneak a candy in during the live stream. Woo. Don't die. All right, so if we have A and B, and we go for C, the most common area of interest for that C is going to be the 1 through 1.382. About 80% of the time, those corrections will stop there. Now, 10% of the time, they'll stop short, like we showed earlier in the stream, and 10% of the time, they're going to stop. They're going to go further to the 1.618. Okay? Now, if something goes to the 1.618, the thing is, you have to consider that it could be a wave 3. Meaning that you caught an actual real reversal point off of that one line support that we predicted about 8 months ago in the community. So there's 2, 3, drop back about 4 spots, usually in a 4, or 2 spots in the 4, and go for the 5. This would be your potential roadmap moving forward for Velodrome. Now, as a trader, you have to form invalidation on these things. And in my opinion, losing the lows of this C wave should be seen as hard invalidation for the trader. Now we're going to continue to look for motions towards the upside. Sten, you asked for monad. I got it on the list, but what I was asking is this something that I can chart on TradingView, sir? Or do I need to chart it somewhere else? And is this the same MON that was listed on Coinbase recently? Stank asked for SEI. Let me get that written down. I used to have a really good friend that we called Stank. His last name was Stenikin. We call him Stank. All right, let me write that down. All right. Apex asked, could you look if I get time at the Bitcoin dominance and ETH BTC weekly? Yeah, I don't normally look at these, but let's look at the BTC dominance for you, Apex. And let's also look at, you asked, the ETH BTC weekly chart. Sorry, just writing this down for you real quick. All right. Yes, it's listed on Coinbase recently. Okay, cool. Sorry, I try to make sure I'm at least charting the right thing for you guys, because there's so many damn charts out there now, right? Now, if you pair this Velodrome chart with what we're talking about on Bitcoin, right? I want you to be aware that if Bitcoin were to shit the bed, it would be really hard for this to come to fruition, right? So the other thing that you should or might want to consider is if this is only 3 down in A, B, C, and W, and 3 up in X, and we make a deeper correction in Y, just be open to that, right? And be okay with kind of cutting ties with that spot position that you picked up at the 1 line and letting it go, right? Because ultimately the hard invalidation is way down there, and man, why let it come all the way back on us, right? Why not keep some of those earnings, some of that money that you earned? But do be aware, Bitcoin can ruin a lot of these altcoin parties really, really quickly. And the thing that I want us to understand is that the majority of altcoins on this time frame only made a 3-wave motion to the upside in a 5-3-5, right? So that's also kind of their bearish note at the same time. You'll notice that Ethereum made a motion in the second motion, right? So if you think about this again in the terms of things, a leg, a connector, and a partner leg, right? That means that partner leg was bigger than this first leg or inception leg. And because of that, it often will tilt the scales more towards an ABC than 1-2 stacking. So please be aware of both of these scenarios because they can lead to some real punishment to the downside. So if you are positioned in leverage or trading, make sure you're using stop losses on these things, because there's no reason to buy spot and absolutely let it shit on you, right? All right, sorry for bouncing around so much. We covered VELO, let's cover VRA. This is not my favorite chart. I really have no interest in it. I haven't had interest in this chart in a very long time. These were the last 2 times that we documented it. These were both sell-off moments, aka 3-wave motions towards the upside, ending on high volume, making it probable that these were just corrective motions used to take your money. When these kind of things happen and Velodrome loses the 888 of the sequence to the upside and comes down, taking back more than 90% of the motion that was made in the ascent, it becomes highly probable that we will take the low at some point, right? Now, you can zoom in and try to see, what we have going on here, but you've already lost 90% of the motion, right? So I really don't have any interest in it. But we can go look at kind of the 4 hour and talk about the maybes. You have a 4 hour regular bull div off the lows, an 8 hour, as you can see here, lower closures, higher closures. On the daily, you have bull div. So maybe, right? Maybe you have a reason for a reversal. Let's check and see. You have volume kind of drying up a little bit of the sellers, but let's go. The major problem will start here. A lot of things that start with a three-wave motion aren't super strong. Yes, so let's put this as red. And then after that, you could maybe even tell yourself, wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in some sort of ending diagonal where everything's made in three-wave motions, getting smaller on itself. But I definitely wouldn't want to go with this being an impulse to the upside as my first count. I would much rather prefer to say this was just corrective, because you never make a wave 3, 4, and 5. Maybe we can try to bullshit that in, but this would be the worst start to a wave 1. That's a three-wave motion. Whereas a start to a wave 1, we typically like to see with 5 waves to the upside and then a large pullback, right? So these are two very different looks, right? So we're not necessarily getting the look we would want. Now, if this is to go ahead and try to make a pullback, let's say, how could it do it? You would need this to be a motion upwards, a leg, a connector, and a partner, right? And then a motion to the upside, a leg, a connector, and a partner. Hard invalidation comes here, right? And you would want to use risk because this could come down really hard on you if so. Now, this shouldn't be that hard for you to deal with. It's an hourly. Invalidation will come soon, or validation will come soon. Now, to be validated, we're going to want to start to see acceptance into this set to the upside, meaning that we get past the gateway drug and interact with this 1 through 1.382, which will tell you a lot because you pull a retrace from high to low, and we begin to watch, just for now, the retracement of these wave 4s. We'll add the 618, 786, and the 702 for now. And we will pay attention to how this motion towards the upside is made. Now, if you are wrong, and this is truly a reversal in some sort of 1-2 stacking, you're going to see a strong reversal on VRA, and you are also going to see volume come in with that. Now, something that is kind of strong that it's doing is, do you see this 0.236? When we take a retracement from the high of a range to the low of a range, when price action interacted with that 0.236, it validates it, reacts, falls under it, reacts to it again, falls under it, reacts to it again, it's all over it. And then what is happening here? You are starting to try to build hourly support off of the 0.236 with an hourly wick with 10 minutes to go, right? So it's off the 0.236, it's above the 8-hour bull control zone, and it's building that pin bar support off of the 50 EMA. Excuse me, that's the 9. Son of a bitch. That's what happens when you don't check your stuff, folks. Good thing I double checked. Let's see where the 50's at before I start jabbering. Way. Okay, even better. So do you see that we are building exact pin bar support for VRA off of the 50 EMA? If it continues to do these two things, for now, we are at least minimum biased towards this zone, right? If it can break the 1 through 1.382, we can talk about more, right? And then we'll kind of see what comes next. But I would say, staying bullishly biased could be okay for you, but you need invalidation. You need to acknowledge some of the bullish signs that are coming, but also look for this 1 through 1.382 area of resistance and these retrace resistances that lie confluent with it, right? So having this confluence of resistance at the 0.5 and the 1.236 could be the wall that stops this. If it does, you should strongly consider this as a three-wave motion, right? It might be a WXY at that point in time. And a 3 up, 3 down, 3 up again. Comes the 1 through 1.236, gets a rejection. Overall, until we can see these reversals for VRA, I personally I'm just going to kind of stay sidelined. It's had a lot of problems. And I understand that FUD can often mean opportunity. But in these current market conditions, I'm not willing to make massive risks unless I have to. Okay? All right, so that's VRA. Let's go look at Zcash so I can punch myself in the throat. I absolutely hate this fucking chart, but let's see what happens. So from a classical analysis standpoint, this is something we talked about this morning in the Discord, right? So you have an internal fair value gap that was here. You came up to it, rejected, and fell out of it. Rejected and fell down. Got acceptance in the fair value gap. Then you wicked up, cleaned out the fair value gap, came down and found support. Again, you're finding more acceptance in that same zone. This is trying to paint you a W bottom. Yes? A little Aunt Judy's booty. So if this is a W, you're looking for what? A break of resistance, a back test as support, and a drive to a technical target, right? Now, the reason I'm bullish on Zcash, and we talk about this over and over and over again, is it was previously in an uptrend. Yes? If we pull a retracement fib from high to low, we can see very clearly that this retraced more than 90% of the previous motion and never puts in a new high. The other thing that a trader should notice is that the motion towards the downside is made in three waves. Anytime a three-wave motion is made down and you come up and retrace to that 90% level, it sets up the chart to take that high at some point, meaning both areas of liquidity here as the external highs. Now, with this kind of sequence of events in the Discord, we set up an area of interest, which was the 1.618, I believe. Someone could correct me in the chats. Let me put this on. And we were looking to acquire Zcash in the area of interest. Now, you front run that just by a smidgen and missed it by a couple bucks. But I think everybody possibly did the right thing. Now what you're going to be looking at, and as silly as this is going to look, we're going to put it on anyways, is a corrective channel, right? So getting back up into here and not finding it as resistance is going to be key, right? So if you continue to find this channel as resistance, you could roll over. That's why a lot of times you don't buy in before the break of these patterns, right? If you're wanting to be a technical target trader and you're looking at this here W bottom, this is a rough target. Where the fuck is the button? This is just a rough target from the middle of the lows to the, I like to go to the neckline of the closures, but a lot of people like the wicks so they can see total possible technical target. I think sometimes that sets you up for failure, but let's put it there anyways for now. That would take you up into the golden pocket resistance. Let's get this all the way on here. And 702 retracement from high to low, which could be a pretty good target. But again, You need to see this true reversal, and we haven't had it yet. And now the thing is, we've talked about this also on the lower time frames, is that really nothing strong starts in a three-wave motion, right? We've talked about this a lot. This motion towards the upside does not look like a five-wave motion, right? No matter how you want to talk about it, look at it, size it up, it looks like a three-wave motion all day long. The other reason why I side with that is because this nice strong push of volume comes into it with its on its highs. To me, this looks like a three-wave motion, right? That's not typically what we're here to chase. We're here to chase something that has a five-wave motion, right? So for me, I think until Zcash can solidify an hourly reversal, what's the point? Just let it go, right? Unless you had bought this low, and at this point you better be mitigating risk, right? I think you would be hard pressed to try to go in here and start talking about real reversals. Son of a bitch. Even off this low, this will be extremely bullshitty. So this is the actual low. You can't say that's a 4. The reason why is because of the expansion. It would make an expansion. It'd be an expanding leading diagonal. I would literally just let this fucking thing go for a bit until it figures its feet out. Meaning that on an hourly, you can see a true reversal. Until then, fucking let it go. You can always come back to these plays later. That's what people don't realize. All right, Zcash, fuck it. All right, FARTBOY was the next thing you guys want to look at. I think that FARTBOY paints a better picture. On the deck screener, we had an emergency live yesterday in the Discord on Sunday, and we covered FARTBOY in depth. You're not going to like what I have to say, but that's okay. So far, it doesn't look super outstanding, right? It's in the idiot box. It's traveling sideways. Yeah, B, I hope that was helpful, dude. It's in the idiot box. It's traveling sideways. FARTBOY's not setting itself up for much success. When we measure this fib time that it's been taking from low to high, we can see that we've been in this correction for quite some time. So there's 3, so there's 4, 5. All right, so we don't need it. We're already past the 4 in time. Yes? With this happening, it's becoming more and more probable that what you're seeing is just linger lagging because this is a community token, right? So it's really held by people who believe in it. So it's sustaining price because of likely a strong community, or maybe they have war chests that help pump up the price. Maybe, I don't know, right? I don't know anything about this project. All I know is that as these CTO coins, a lot of them, the charts will do things that are hard to completely track at some points. When we wanted this to be bullish towards the upside, meaning a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and an extended 5th, this idea gets kind of fucked up when it's just going sideways forever and making no attempts to give this a partner leg, right? This partner leg, its connector is almost 5 times in length, which means something is wrong here, right? Something is off. So again, I've already mitigated risk on this project. I expressed those views in the Discord, and there's nothing I'm willing to put into this as risk right now until I see signs of reversal, which we just aren't getting yet. Okay? All right. So the next thing is going to be Atom for Stank. Let's go look at Atom. Let's take a quick peek at Bitcoin. Little health check. That was a 4-hour closure. What do we get here? So in the scheme of candles, that's not the best 4-hour candle, especially after a 4-hour bearish engulfing candle. So not setting itself up for success right now. All right, let's go look at Atom. This is not what I look at often. You'll notice I'm sticking to kind of the Coinbase charts. A lot of the USDT pairs, their charts got ruined when we had the big crash back in the beginning of October, making some really serious wicks. Now, I like to approach all of these charts from a weekly perspective first, and then we'll work our way backwards. See what I mean about these USDT charts? They got fucked up. So let's just stick to Coinbase. Let's stay on a weekly. I'm going to go from low to high on the range. Make sure we get the actual high here. Where are we at? Let's go see which one of these is the real high. High of 44.80, 44.69, 44.80, 44.80. So it's a nice double right here. So we'll just go to there for now. Let's look at the whole set of fib retracements. Now, with this losing the 786 like it has, right? You have great reactions there, and then you lose it. And you found it as resistance. Because of this, I'm voting on this just continues on down to the 888, unfortunately. A lot of times when you lose the 786 retrace support, it means that you're going to take the lows, right? Unfortunately, this chart is not a bullish setup, right? This is not the most bullish way to create a motion towards the upside. I am sure we can do some bullshitter 101 here and say, you know, this is wave 1 and wave 2 maybe. Again, you might end up with a 4 that's bigger than your... Yeah, it would mess things up because you'd be making expanding diagonal, which is super rare. You have overlap between your highs of that push and the lows of this push, which doesn't really paint the picture of an impulse very well. Let's delete everything and see if we can look in here a little bit better. This is a nice 3-wave motion up. Alright, let's get into the fucking weeds. Yeah, a lot of the charts, they'll start really hard like this. 3 waves up, you know, 3 waves down, 3 waves up, 3 waves down. I'm very curious if this is one of those instances. Because that's 3 down, 3 up, 3 down. This might have been a WXY. But again, don't get impulsive to the upside. You're just making another choppy motion. Right to the 1-to-1. Yeah, I wouldn't be super interested in this. I couldn't call it an impulse to the upside, so it gives you no real prior data to go off of, and it's lost the 786. So I would say it's more than likely setting itself up to take those lows at some point. Stank, but you know, come in the Discord, we can do low time frame analysis daily for you and check it for reversals, but right now, no sign of reversal yet. Because the biggest takeaway here isn't that we buy a dip and we get lucky. The biggest takeaway is that we allow price action to show us something and then we buy back as an opportunity, right? Because nothing goes straight up forever. This price action will always have back checks in it. And those back checks are when we find opportunities with managed risk so that we can make better investments, right? Especially when there's charts that are setting up a little bit better. All right, so let's go look at Solana for Apex. Where in the world are you today? I never look at this chart anymore. I gave up on it very long time ago because I felt like my heart believes that Solana has topped. The reason I say that is because this three-wave motion here. Do you see this? 1, 2, 3. Three-wave motion. Three-wave motion is never a strong start of something. Even more so when the next motion takes that low. It sets it up to come pull this next liquidity. I would be very cautious on this. And the reason why, let me get rid of some of this bullshit I just drew on here. God, how many times have I drawn this? We even did it, little teaching down here. All right, so off of the lows, let's get rid of all this bullshit that I draw on. I must have been teaching the quality of wave 2 and 4 being a 1-to-1 ratio at that point is my best guess. All right, so if we had 1-2 stacking from down low on Solana, which I want to go with as my primary, unfortunately, then I have to side with, right, my most common area of retracement, which is my golden pocket, 0.5 through the 702. And I would also add to it my extension from high to low to high. And I would look for the 1 through 1.382, taking this down to $80 to $54, if not a wick to 48, right? Weekly internal fair value gaps are very strong magnets in price action, and they should be considered, because if you don't, they will surprise you. And I promise you, I can look back in time and show you numerous internal fair value gaps and how they behave in bear markets and bull markets, right? Bitcoin is absolutely fabulous to go look at on this. So for now, I'm sticking with the bear as my primary. The major reason being is this three-wave motion here on Solana to the upside, okay? That is not a strong start to something. We keep harping on this again and again and again in every single stream. Three-wave motion to the 1-to-1. Not a good way to start things. At best case, it is corrective. So if we measure from high to low, we can see that we also came into that resistance around the 786 to the 888, right? If so, if this is 3 down and 3 up, we should be looking for a strong 5-wave motion to the downside, right? So if that's true, I'm not really looking to get involved here, especially with the fact that every motion upwards on Solana has been met with resistance, right? So for right now, not interested. Even if it were to move on from here and you were like, oh my God, dude, surf, it's going to make a diagonal, bro. And this is all a wave 2 and you're just going to miss that low. Great. I would rather miss that low, because in a diagonal, meaning if this is the somehow a wave 5 to the upside in 1 and 2, it'll make wave 3 and 4. This is where I would get interested prior to that final 5 waves and 5, right? So I understand that does cut back on the possible outcome or how much that I could make if I were to buy that. But I would rather mitigate risk than say, uh-oh, that's a leg and we're connecting and then we're going to give it a partner leg, right? I have to try to protect myself somewhat in this. And being someone that was involved in Solana down here and sold all out before we made the biggest highs, but sold all out here, I'm not willing to come back yet, right? And I'm sure that's how a lot of people feel. But for right now, it's just not the best decision for me. So I'm going to stick with the primary here of this and just continue to watch this one from the sidelines. Come on, baby. I would much rather be invalidated. Do you know what I mean, guys? I would much rather be wrong and everything get really bullish and just punch me right in the face, right? But for right now, I can't switch to that, especially when we're just ranging. 3 waves, range. Let's see what happens. All right, what do we have next, guys? All right, B has to leave. His phone's dying. Damn it. All right, the next thing we have is monad. So we have monad or mon, I don't know what people are calling it, for Sten. This is a horrible chart because it's brand new. So it is a son of a bitch. This has not been around very long. When charts do this kind of shit, we have to go to the only area that we can find probability, right? So the pivots. Now, if this is to be a wave 1 or A and it makes a high, and then you make a 3-wave motion down, you should be looking for this to make some sort of partner leg of this previous at some point. Now, I will tell you, with a limited time chart like this, it is very hard to come up with any real probable stuff. So let's leave this as an 888 bounce, which means that anything to the upside after an 888 bounce is typically only a corrective motion, right? Meaning that this is likely an A and a B, and you'll get a C. Now, to start to form a C, or 5 waves to the upside, you need a wave 1, and to a wave 2, you need a 3, a 4, and a 5. Likely to take old highs as the target, right? Which also ended on bullish order flow at its highs. Now, if this is going to be true, this is where the fucking rubber needs to meet the road, right? This has to be it. So if this is an A and a 3-wave B and a fucking horrible C to the downside, that chopped and took liquidity somehow, and because of 3-4s, we'll say, and because it's crypto and it likes to bullshit, you need to have invalidation, right? Instead of just like sitting on this hopefully forever, you need invalidation at these lows. You lose these lows, you're likely going to take out your only bullish structure that you have here, right? And even this is a hopeful son of a bitch. Right, we're only using it because it has no rule breaks about it. Comes ish to the 618, has divergence on the RSI between 3 and 5, has divergence on the volume between 3 and 5, meaning it could be a momentum divergence in the area. You should have expected the reversal. But man, you don't want to sit on this forever, trust me. Especially after 1.618 hit. Leave your invalidation here at the 0.02483. And if you want Mon to get going, again, this needs to be a wave 1 and I bet a wave 2 that's not over yet. Let's check the time on this to make sure you're not bullshitting. This looks like a really good 3-wave motion up, my dude. And this has the look in Elliott Wave, right? Chopping, displacing, chopping into the finish. 3 waves up. I would look to see, does this give me displacement down into the internal fair value gap? And if I was a holder, I would look to buy in this zone on a 3 swing back. And that would take me to around the 1 through 1.382. It would clean up internal fair value gaps left behind. You would still have invalidation that we talked about earlier in the stream. And you would be able to start to take action moving towards the upside, if that makes sense, sir. So you'd have an hourly and 4-hour plan moving forwards. And Sten, you are in the Discord already, so you know that we keep you in the loop, buddy. If you have any more questions over this, let me know. But I will say refer back to this stream as much as you can so that you know where invalidation is and you understand the plan moving forward. But thank you for the chart request, brother. All right, the next one is going to be Link. This is something that we kind of started to look at a little bit early on but never finished talking about. I want you to understand that Chainlink sets itself up for a different chart. And in this, I mean that the successive second motion towards the upside never makes a wave 3 minimum and then gives overlap as a wave 4 and never makes a wave 5, right? So that's highly unlikely to be a count. The true count is likely to be just an ABC, meaning an A, a B that retraces 90%, followed by a C. a 335 motion to the upside is more than likely at hand here because of the deep retracement. It also made a C wave to the what? 1 through 1.382, meaning it's highly probable to take this double external liquidity at those lows, right? I'm not interested in Chainlink yet. We've talked about this in numerous live streams, and we talk about it in the Discord. We are looking for more downside on Chainlink, right? So I'm looking for a partner leg to the downside to around $9 to $5.96. I'm going to base this retracement support from low to high. And I'm going to go for the confluence of that golden pocket with this, right? So this is my true area of interest on Chainlink. You would get me to DCA this area. I would buy in 10% dips. I would buy my first bag at 9. I would wait through that one, and I'd buy my second bag 23% down from that one with a 3/4 size position. I'd buy a heavier position, and then I would save one more hopeful DCA in case we started to move up. But I really wouldn't want to accept losing $7 for Chainlink except for a wick. And you know, it's unfortunate when charts kind of say these kind of things, but when all we've got is the 3-wave motion to the upside, for now I have to stay correctively biased. Yes, you may be able to chain some more corrective motions here to the upside to make this happen. But for right now, we have a 3-wave motion that ended on high volume. I'm not very interested. All right, the next one's going to be SEI for Stank. This one we have stayed sidelined on. I'm not interested in this coin. We talked about the why in numerous live streams. We have a 3-wave ABC or WXY to the upside. It stops at 1 through 1.382 and then begins to break down hard. After which it loses the low of the only 3-wave motion that it made and begins to find the 105 as support. Now, unless this begins to make micro reversals for SEI, then there's no point, right? Its most common area of interest will still be the 1.236 through 1.382, taken from 0 to Y and projecting those supports down. Now let's go look at the micro and see, have you made any sort of reversals yet? So off that low, you may, and this is a strong maybe, be able to say that you had an actual reversal here, right? But with this ending on high volume, it sets itself up as kind of more as a bearish chart than a bullish chart. This is not my favorite way to start things. We don't have a really clean, clear look here. I would hate to have to say this is 3 down and 3 up and this is 5 down and that's the first leg down in a correction, you know, and then we hopefully make an impulse, right? So you at least, if you want to be an SEI trader, right, and you want to be bullish, you want to flip bullish, this has to be a wave 1 into a wave 2. Has to be. It would, oopsie. I'm just click, 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 click. Fucking 97 clicks later. Shit, all in the wrong place. Give me 1 second here. You would have to start to make a strong reversal here, right? And this would have to be wave 1 into a wave 2, a wave 1 into a wave 2. Again, a wave 1 into a wave 2, wave 1 into a wave 2. You need this to really displace upward. And if you're trying to keep it probable, I would have truly liked to see this wave 1 stay smaller than all the priors. It got a hair bigger. It's not a hard invalidation, but a trader would like to take an extension from low to high to low and begin to look for reversals here, right? This would be your first bullshitty 1 into 2 stacking that a trader would be looking for, right? So let's make these orange. And remember, this is hopeful. Doesn't mean it's happening. It's hopeful. All right. So these SEI traders need hard invalidation for right now at those lows, because you may make another little local low, but this would be the only hope for them. Outside of that, I would say this sells itself as a three-wave motion up, and there is a chance to continue towards the downside. I can't make any promises on this yet. Now, if you would start to verify this path, meaning a wave 1 into a 2, strong breakout in a 3, gives a 4 and a 5, dude, we are on to something then, right? Because then you're going to give yourself at least some probability to be playing this motion. All right, let's get rid of this. Got a little big on us. This will be wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. If that happens, let it happen, let it run, and come back later. Buy into the displacement left behind from the breakout. Yes, you'll make such better investments if you just wait for these things to present themselves. It's fun to chart it. I often will sit and just chart these things and not buy, because excuse me, no chart goes up forever. Every price action that's made to the upside or downside is usually back tested, right? So stay focused on that. Don't make crazy purchases. All right, Bitcoin dominance. And this is for Apex. This is not something I look at often. On the 4-hour, this isn't the best way that we could have seen this happen. On the 4-hour, you can see a wave 1 up, or a 5-wave sequence, and a possible 3-wave pullback. If Bitcoin dominance goes up while Bitcoin's price went down, this would be the worst case scenario for Bitcoin or for your altcoins, right? A lot of times in a bear market, we'll continue to see Bitcoin's dominance just keep marching upwards, right? You've already retraced 90%. Why not keep retracing it, right? You even saw price action get past the 786. So in my opinion, Bitcoin dominance is not really like something I often look at, but you know, it's something that we'll take into consideration moving forward. But overall, you're just, for your altcoins to have any sort of altcoin season, you would need Bitcoin dominance to drop while Bitcoin's price goes up. That would give alts a chance to run.